Breaking tonight in a powerful Kelly File exclusive. One of the most influential publications in American conservative thought, publishing a dire warning from nearly 24 of the nation's best-known conservatives. Donald Trump must be stopped. Welcome to the Kelly File. I'm Megyn Kelly. Less than an hour from now, this will be the cover of the well-known National Review. The cover page titled, "Against Trump." The magazine, started by William F. Buckley Jr. more than 60 years ago, described a true conservative at the time as, quote, "a fellow standing athwart history yelling, 'Stop.'" Tonight, these conservatives joined together in an attempt to do just that, publishing their objections to the Trump candidacy, and they do not mince words. Many of these men and women will be familiar to you. 3 of them will join us in just a moment on their message that Trump is not one of them. Then we will hear from the other side. Former Trump political advisor Roger Stone is here, along with Washington Times political columnist Charles Hurt. But first, we begin with one of Donald Trump's best-known new advocates, former Alaska governor and vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin. When Mrs. Palin announced her endorsement of Mr. Trump earlier this week, she hammered the so-called Republican establishment for trying to bring him down.
Look what's happening today. Our own GOP machine, the establishment, they who would assemble the political landscape, they're attacking their own front runner. Now, would the left ever, would the DNC ever come after their front runner and her supporters? No, because they don't eat their own. They don't self-destruct. But for the GOP establishment to be coming after Donald Trump's supporters, even with accusations that are so false, they are so busted.
Joining us now, the man who organized this effort to stop Donald Trump, National Review editor Rich Lowry. Rich, good to see you.
Hi, Megyn.
So when Palin gave her that endorsement, many said Trump has won over the conservative base. That's an endorsement from the conservative base. And you and the others at National Review stand up tonight and say, not so.
Yeah, one big takeaway from what we're doing is not the establishment necessarily that's opposing Donald Trump. You have a bunch of lobbyists on K Street right now hiding under their desks, figuring out how they can deal with Trump or perhaps co-opt him. And the point we're making, it's up to conservatives who think that Donald Trump, whatever his virtues are, doesn't truly understand the ideas and principles that make this country great. It's up to those conservatives to stand up and say, no, sorry, we oppose this guy.
When you read the 22 pieces that were submitted to National Review by very well-known conservatives and Republicans in the country, I mean, Andy McCarthy among them, Michael Mukasey, and so on, the list goes, Glenn Beck, the first name in the list. What themes emerged to you?
Well, there are a couple. One, if you truly are conservative, you believe in ideas and principles. It's not just attitudes. It's not just who you dislike. It's limited government. It's the Constitution, it's liberty. Those are the things that truly make this country special. And they are basically afterthoughts to Donald Trump. He almost never talks about them. And if you're truly a conservative, you have a consistent record. We all change our minds on a few things every now and then when the facts change, but he has been on the other side on big, hot-button, defining issues like abortion, gun control, taxes, and even immigration.
He points to Ronald Reagan, saying he, too, came across the aisle after having been on the other side, and that he's had that genuine evolution himself.
And Ronald Reagan spent about 30 or 40 years marinating in conservative thought and advocating for conservative ideas. He just didn't show up one day and said, hey, guess what? Now I'm a conservative. And another problem with Trump is he seems to believe what this country needs is a really effective strongman to make the trains run on time, when what we really need is the government to be cut down to size, restored to its rightful role, and then focus on the really important things, like the borders and like creating the conditions for growth.
One of the pieces points out is that the country was born in an effort to avoid a heavy-handed leader who thought he could just make it better, and to re-empower the people to govern themselves, as opposed to vest all this power in one man who said he could do it.
Right. Now he's a very talented politician. He has proven that over the last 6 to 8 months, and he's hit a nerve, and he's gone where the energy is. And a lot of times, I'm laughing and applauding right along with his supporters. But conservatism is more than that. And I don't even believe, I think even on immigration, he is really conning people. This is someone who 3 or 4 short years ago was criticizing nice, pleasant, polite Mitt Romney for being too harsh on immigration. It wouldn't surprise me if one day Donald Trump, if he gets the nomination, wakes up the next day and says, you know what, deporting people, the best people in the country told me it's not possible. Forget it.
Rich, thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Here now, 3 of the people contributing to the conservative campaign to stop Donald Trump. Dana Lash, the host of Dana on the Blaze TV. Brent Bizzell, the chairman of the group For America. That's the nation's largest online conservative network. And Katie Pavlich, who's a Fox News contributor and news editor of townhall.com. Dana, let me start with you. Glenn has got the first piece in this. You also add your 2 cents, saying you were on the lines with the Tea Party, standing with the placards out on the sidewalks. You didn't see Donald Trump there.
Now, and Megan, you know, to that point, I was on that first phone call the night that we were all, a group of us were planning the first Tea Party rallies and founding the modern day Tea Party movement. I didn't stand out, I didn't phone bank, and I didn't go door to door for an increased mandate for ethanol. I didn't do it for eminent domain. I did it for principles over popularity. And when I'm looking at this primary, I feel as though that a lot of this has turned into popularity over principles. That's what conservatism is. It's principle. I know Donald Trump. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's got a fantastic family. But that's not enough, to me anyway, to win over the White House. I want someone who's a great leader and is a staunch conservative, and I don't have to question their authenticity.
Brent, you know what's happening right now. A lot of Trump supporters are watching this saying, these people are establishment. They don't get it. We just want someone who can go in there and screw with Washington the way they feel their lives have been messed with.
Look, Megan, anyone who knows me knows I was fighting the establishment well before fighting the establishment was cool. I was fighting the establishment with the Buchanan Brigades in 1992. So why are we speaking out about this? To suggest that Trump has had some kind of road to Damascus transformation just isn't true. Look, Ronald Reagan spent 16 years working for conservative principles, giving speeches, traveling around the country, raising money for conservative organizations, supporting Barry Goldwater, doing all those things that advanced the conservative movement for decades before he ran for president. Donald Trump did none of it until 3 months ago. Up until 3 months ago, this was a man who said he was a proud Democrat. This is a man who said he was a proud supporter of Hillary Clinton. This is a man who said he was a proud supporter of Planned Parenthood. This is what he said he was. So I think people have to say, okay, it's been a lot of fun up until now, but do we care only about rattling the cages in Washington, or do we as conservatives want to fundamentally change this course of destruction that we're on? And Donald Trump has no record of ever supporting any of these things.
Katie, the pieces talk about, this is from Bill Kristol, that he's the very epitome of vulgarity, saying this is another piece, that he is whatever he pleases to be at the moment, the only principle being the triumph of his will. It's a harsh litany of accusations against him. Does it run any risk of having the opposite of its intended effect, having the Trump supporters say, that's it, we're dug in even more, these people don't understand us?
Well, look, I think that there's a lot of people who are supporting Donald Trump who are going to continue to support Donald Trump. But as we're seeing with the race in Iowa, there is a rift between Donald Trump and people who are looking at Ted Cruz as a conservative option. Again, this does go back to principles. We have to ask ourselves here whether we are willing to set the precedent with Donald Trump and just throwing away years and years and decades and centuries of conservative principles and values simply because a candidate comes in and says all of the right things.
He says he is a conservative. He says he is.
But he's not, Megan. But he can say that he is, just like he says he is a lot of things. But the fact is that Donald Trump, his liberal past is not behind him. In fact, he has gone out on the current campaign trail and espoused liberal ideas and big government propositions and proposals. So to say that his liberal past is behind him, that he's somehow changed and he's a conservative, just doesn't mesh with the facts. Conservatives, historically,